Mexico right now. I've been here for the last 5 days, where we have had the Transformational Leadership Council. This was in fact, you'll probably be able to see my screen now because we've got this all up and running. So let me just share a little bit about who these guys are that we've been out here with. The Transformational Leadership Council was basically set up by Jack Canfield, John Gray, and a whole series of transformational leaders around the world. I've been part of this group for some time now, and it's an opportunity for us to get connected with all the very, very latest things that are happening around the world, what people are up to, how they're going about sharing their message. So anyone who's on the call who happens to be a trainer or a coach or a speaker, there's going to be some things we'll be sharing today about how you share content that I've just picked up in the last week. And of course, if you're not, and you happen to have an online business or a retail business or any kind of service business, there's going to be some really great things we're going to go through on this call, which is going to give you some new ways of looking at 2014. So what I'm going to do to get started is I'm going to start with my little slideshow that I have here, and a couple of key things to get started. We have got like real practical how-tos and things that you can do and apply immediately within your business on this call. So as I'm sure many of you know, we have got a series of fast forward events that are taking place around the world. I'm going to give you some details on some of those because some of you may have already booked for some of those coming up as well. And that's where I go through the full 10 waves that are really hitting us this year that you can really profit from if you are focused at them in the right way for your business. We're going to cover 3 of those on this call. And as I go through this as well, you may have some questions. So here's the key things. You'll see on this screen, first of all, that you can ask questions on Twitter. So that's one way you can do it. Or you can ask on Facebook by going to the Fast Forward Your Business page. So here's how it works. Let me just explain it first of all. In fact, there's another way as well, which is everyone who's actually on the call, you'll notice on your GoToWebinar control panel that there is a drop-down button called questions. And as you can see, there are already some people in there, like Lorraine Matthews has just written, what's the simplest and best way to get started in this maze of information technology? We've got Narelle in there. Hi, Roger. So pleased to be here. Eager to hear what you've got to say. So people are already posting different things in there, which is great. And I'll kind of sift through things in there as well to pick up some questions. And I'm not going to kind of wait until the end of the call before I answer questions. I'll be picking up some questions as I go as well. I'm going to be very interactive as I go through all of this. And my apologies if I speak too quickly, but I'm kind of excited with all the things going on in the world right now. Okay, so you can either put the questions in there, that's one thing, or you can basically post them on Twitter, which always is a good thing because there'll be other people then that can follow those threads. Here is my here I am on Twitter right now, right? So if you want to find me, very easy. Just basically go to Twitter and look for Roger Hamilton. And here, well, I'm obviously on here right now, but here we go. This is what it would look like if you were just typing it in. And then you can basically send me a message you want. But if you actually put this hashtag here, FFYB 2014, then obviously that means that if I was to click on that, as I'm clicking right now, then I will see anyone else who ends up posting things on here as well. And obviously at the moment, there's just myself. So that's one way you can do it. And then the final thing, which is also worth sharing, is on the Fast Forward Facebook page, which is right here. It's under Fast Forward Your Business as the Facebook page. You'll see on here that I've actually posted this image here. And I'm also going to be giving all the links that I'm posting right now. So I've just posted my Twitter link. You can ask questions on here as well. And the really useful thing about this is when you share this, like I just shared this on my timeline, it means that I'm going to have all of the links that I'm about to go through with you. I'm going to have all of those on here. And if any time you want to refer back to it, if you share this on your Facebook page, not only will people out there know that you're on this call right now, but you'll also be able to actually come back to any of the links that you might find interesting, because I'm going to go through quite a lot on this call. You can come back to them and refer to them in the future as well. So simple, easy way to do it. And of course, if you like it, then you see everyone else who's liked it, and you're going to see straight away just by 2 other people liked it there. There's Richard and Lisa there. So when you actually do that as well, it gives you a really simple, easy way for you to be able to see who else is on the call and connect with them as well, right? So that's pretty much how we're going to do this, right? So use the most of Facebook, use most of Twitter, and also obviously listen in to all the things I'm going to share as I'm sharing it. See, I just didn't even know I was going to be sharing this one, but let me just post it on here as a second little post. And then let's get started. All right, so next thing I want to share is this this link here. So this is a link which looks like a big link. In fact, I'm going to make this super duper easy for you. I'm actually going to take this link, which is the one for this seminar, and I'm going to actually post it here under chat. So there's a chat section, which you'll see is different from the questions. And I've just posted that into the chat section. So if you click on that, that will take you straight to this website. And as you can see, this is the Global Virtual Conference webpage. And we have the slides that I'm showing right now are on SlideShare, so you can actually look at them there. And there's a whole bunch of other things in here around our Fast Forward events, all the events we've got happening in Australia coming up, the ones happening in different parts of the world later this year as well. So all this kind of stuff is in here, right? Information, all this kind of goodness is for you to kind of check in on. And I'm going to be referring to some of this as well as we go through this. So this link, I'm going to also post up here, gives you a simple, easy way to be able to kind of connect up with this page as well. So this page here I'm going to come back to, but just letting you know about it right now that it's here. Okay, so let's get started. First thing I want to share, and this is kind of interesting, here we are at the beginning of 2014, and I have now run the Fast Forward events for 4 years. First one was in Australia 4 years ago, and we had somewhere in the region, I think 400 or 500 people who came along, and it's now got to the point where we've got like over 2,000 people coming and over 8,000 people coming all over around the world. And it keeps growing each year. It goes up by anywhere from 60% to 100% every single year, because there are more and more people that are seeing a real need to keep up with the times. Even more so, this is the year when there have been a number of different authorities that have been talking about this being the year of the entrepreneur. This article came out in Forbes, as you can see here on the 25th of December. This was on Christmas Day. They happened to post this. And this was an article about a new era of entrepreneurship and startups. A couple of key summaries of why they were saying this. Why is it a new era? The first one is that funding is more available than ever. In fact, there's a couple of keys here which are on the slide, but it's going to be a whole lot easier if I give this information to you via the link. So here I've got a whole bunch of links. I'm going to take this link here. I'm going to just highlight a couple of things here because they're really critical if you're right in the midst of your business to just step out for a moment and start just looking at some of the key things that people out there are saying, which is so easy to miss, because if we're still working where we were last year, we're missing the opportunity to see things totally differently. So here it is. I've just opened up the article here. First thing, valuation of successful startups have hit an all-time high, and like they've got the stats in here as well. There are now easily 25, possibly exceeding 40, valued over $1 billion in terms of new startups that have come out. And we're seeing this not just in terms of companies that are startups that are raising high valuations, but IPOs are also back on track in terms of an exit strategy. It's also growing massively too. And one thing that's not said here, which I think is really important, is we're going through an interesting time. If you're involved in the stock market or not, you probably realize that this year the stock market's gone down after going up all of last year. And the obviously reason for that is because the Fed have stopped printing their $65 billion every single month. They're actually going to be paring that back, so they're not going to be printing quite so much. And so already the market's going through an adjustment. What this means is that suddenly, like mature companies or companies that are on the stock market are not quite as attractive as those who are looking for high returns through smaller businesses. And there's a whole bunch of different pathways that people can take to be investing in small business now. And whether that's through crowdfunding sites like Kickstarter or Indiegogo, or whether it's on sites like the UK site, Bank to the Future, there are more and more opportunities now to be able to invest in companies out there. So it's easier now to raise funding than ever. I'm going to go through some of the ways you can do that on this call as well. As this number 3, funding for early stage startup is more available than ever. And so how you go about doing that and raising money now, there's a number of different ways. If you have any questions about that, then go ahead and ask them too. And then And then also cost of entry for a startup is at an all-time low. So it's like easier now than ever to set up a business. And I'm going to give you some examples on that as well. Startup incubators, accelerators are popping up everywhere. We have our own iLab taking place in Bali. And so we're now launching a second resort, which is going to be in Hawaii. So as well as having a Bali resort, we have a Hawaii resort, and we're setting up some partnerships with other resorts around the world. There's one in Europe that we're going to be partnering with. There's Necker Island, where we're going to be partnering with some events happening there as well, which is Richard Branson's resort. And this next one, which I'm going to come back to, is that the world is now a single market. It's now easier than ever, not just to set up a company, but to make it global straight away, right? And that's going to be one of the key trends that I'm going to be sharing in a moment. And there's a number of other ones in here, which includes women being a force for entrepreneurship, baby boomers joining the fund in record numbers. So we've got like all these information and stats. And if you've got anyone who is discouraging you from being an entrepreneur, give them this article, share with them exactly what's going on this year, where we've kind of hit a bit of a tipping point. And that tipping point is not just shared in this article here, it's also shared in this one, which is one that Richard Branson wrote at the end of last year. So Richard Branson wrote this article. I'm going to give you this link here as well. Let's come back to fast forward. Okay, so here's Richard Branson writing about 2014 being the year of the entrepreneur. And he kind of breaks it down as to exactly why that is from his point of view. And a lot of it has to do with the same things I'm going to be talking about here, how technology and global access and financing is making it easier than ever for you to get all of the key things you want to be able to be successful this year as well. Okay, so, and here's all the info around what he's doing. In fact, one of the things, you may or may not be aware of this, but one of the things that Richard and Virgin did in this last year is basically created an entire a startup program in the UK, which potentially is also going to grow to other parts of the world as well. So it's called Virgin Startup, and if you happen to be in the UK, although I think the UK is sleeping right now, then you can connect to it by going here, Virgin Startup. And what I really like about this program, and I really do believe there's going to be more that are going to be starting up like this, is basically, first of all, Virgin is using their brand. They're tied up with the government so that they're taking loans from the government, but what they're doing differently is they're adding those into those loans mentorship. So and they're actually getting people to volunteer as mentors. So effectively, here, as you can see here, become a mentor. It means that you can apply, you can get financing, you can get a mentor at the same time, and then you basically become part of this program. So it's a really nice program, and I think there's going to be more and more smart ways like that people are putting together infrastructures to allow those who'd like to actually go out and raise financing to go raise financing. Right? So that's kind of a cool thing. Okay, coming back to my little presentation here. This is what I'd really love you to focus at, because as I go through this, I can just give you lots of information, and you can kind of just listen to it all and then head off back into life again. Or you could listen to everything I'm going to say with this question in mind. What one action will you take right now to double your income or outcome, as I say here, in 2014? The reason I say outcome instead of income is it may not be that you actually do want to double your revenues. You might want to actually just keep your revenues exactly where they are and double your profits. You may decide that your main outcome is actually getting more time for yourself. So you're going to get some time back. It may be that you just want to get rid of the stress of just kind of like running after new business and have more coming your way. So whatever it is that you're wanting to choose to say, this is the one thing I want to really change in my business this year, and you want to really make it at a multiple of what it has been, what would that be? I mean, what would be the most important thing for you? And it may not even be the business. It may be what you put into your own pocket. It may be how much travel you do. It may be the people you're going to hang out with. So you decide and write it down. And rather than just kind of think it, get a piece of paper, type it out. What is the outcome that you're really looking for this year? That if you could choose for yourself, this is what it is. What would that look like? And before I go on, I really want to just pause for a moment on this, because one of the things that's happening this year is I'm coming out with my new book, which is the Millionaire Master Plan. And the Millionaire Master Plan is really starting with the premise that we are living in a world of too much information, meaning that there was a time when we didn't have enough information. So as a result, what happens is lots of people write books and we go out and go to seminars to get more information. Problem with that is that today we have too much information. I mean, you've got all the information in the world in your pocket, in your smartphone. And so the problem is not information anymore. The problem is that it's overwhelming with the overload of information. And what we need is not the information, what we need is direction. The difference of information and direction is, imagine you're in Paris and you get lost. You can have a map of Paris which shows you every single road in Paris, which is the information. You can't get any more information than that. You have as much information as someone who lives in Paris, but it won't stop you from being lost. Because if you don't know where you are, then there's no way to know where how to get to where you want to go. And what's going to happen is that if you stopped and ask someone, like, can you give me direction? Then first of all, they're going to help you by showing you where you are, which is always helpful. But the second thing is they're also then going to ask you, where do you want to go? And in exactly the same way, one of the things that's going to happen on this call is we're going to have a chance to just see where we are, but then most importantly, where do you want to go? What do you want your business or your life to look like? Let's call it 12 months from now. In January 2015, what is it that you would really want to see different in what you're doing and how you're doing it? Would it be the business being bigger than it is right now, or in different countries? Would it be a new product that you're looking to launch, a new thing you're looking to get involved in? Would it be an entirely new business that you're looking to actually get involved in right now? And how would that then impact your life in terms of the amount of time you would have, the amount of money you would have, what the experiences that you would be having with your family or with the people that you want to be spending time with? What would really be different? Just kind of jot down a few things as we're going through this that would allow you to really just kind of like make a real clear picture now, that if someone was to come up to you and say, well, where is it that you're wanting to go, you've got it set, right? You just got it set. Okay, so with that in mind, my goal is to make sure that through the rest of what I share, I touch on enough things that allow you to get this question answered, which is, what's the one action you will take right now to double that your outcome? And if you have questions that you start thinking of as I go through this, great, then go ahead, ask them, and then we're going to get to those as well. One final thing I want to say is that there's also a couple of people that I have gone out and asked for their opinion on what they think is the #1 thing that we should be focusing at this coming year. These are some of the people from TLC and so on. And so you'll be hearing from them a little bit later, because I've recorded those conversations and I'm going to be playing those. The other thing is that we have some really special things that we're about to be launching right now as well, that I'll be sharing with you for those of you who really want to take some action from the things you're hearing about on this call too. Okay, the biggest wake-up call getting started into this is this image. When I talk about thinking global, and the fact that every business out there today can be global, and that it's easier today to start a global business than to start a local one, is I define a global business as being one that you can run from anywhere, and a global business is one in which you are learning from everywhere. All right, so I'll say that again. It's a business in which you can work from anywhere. That doesn't mean you have to work from anywhere. But if you wanted to go off for 6 months to the other side of the world, you could, and the business is structured in such a way that you can still check in on it, know where it's at, and ensure that it continues to move forward, even if you're not even there, right? And there's some very simple ways you can do that today with the way that technology works and the way the systems work, and I'll be sharing with you some of the ways that we do that as I go through this call. The second thing is learning from everywhere is a critical part, where if you're saying, well, what other businesses are already doing things similar to me, but doing them better? If you're only taking your local area, there's a pretty good chance it's going to be tough to find the right role models or the right pathways that you can then copy and follow. But if you look around the world, and of course we can do that now because the internet and all the information out there allows us to get to everything we need really quickly and really easily, if we start thinking that way, then we become far more expansive and it gets a lot more exciting. This here is an image of the world, and we have 7 billion people in the world as if it was a village of 100 people. The internet at the moment has several billion people on it, and is scheduled to have, or is predicted to have another 3 billion over the next 10 years. So you've got 3 at the moment, you can have another 3, and almost all of those 3 billion that are coming on stream are in developing countries. So we're going to see more and more this kind of a breakup. We already have a minority of people online speaking English. The majority already are in different languages. So if you wanted to look at the rest of the world and say, well, what's really going on out there, it's actually very easy to do that today. Right? If we actually just use a browser like Google Chrome, and in fact, any of the browsers, I'm sure you know this already, you can translate any website into any language, and it just makes life so easy to be able to spot. In fact, if you may not know this, so I'm just going to share this as a beginning to really start learning from around the world. One of the people that I'm just going to post this as well, so you've got all of these links. There we go. And I'm going to refresh. So if anyone's posted things, I can see it here as well. All right. Yeah, let me give you let me give you an example. There was someone that I was speaking to, a mother and daughter team who work in Argentina, and they have a company called Confianza Total, right? That's the name of the company. So here it is, and and they've got a big following online. Here they are. They basically have a book which is all about total confidence. They are supported by Sony Music, who take them on tours all over Argentina, and they're expanding into the rest of the Spanish world. And as you can see, everything they do is in Spanish. Now, this is interesting because when I was sharing with them, like, I came onto this, and the first thing they said is like, well, you won't be able to read our website because it's in Spanish. And I said, well, actually, I can, because I've got this little plugin here on Chrome, which allows me to look at it and translate it. And so I then clicked on it and translated it, and then boom, all of a sudden, the entire website shows up in English, right? Oh, it's being a bit slow. What is Spanish to English? So here, okay, so you can see here now it's all the things in English. And then, so now that it was all in English, I said, but the great thing is we could look at it in any language. So if we want to go and have a look at it in Czech, for example, here now it is in Czech. Or if we want to look at it in Chinese, then here all is in Chinese. And what was really interesting is that these are two people who already are they're in the game, they're out there, they've got like 50, 60,000 people following them, they've got like full crowds, and they're actually saying, we wanted to translate our website into English, but we were told that was going to be too expensive to do all of that kind of stuff by our web designer, so we just hadn't done it yet, and now you're just showing us you can just do all this straight off. And it's like, yeah, you can actually set it all up straight away, so you can actually look at anything, anywhere. And I will be often looking at, for example, the way we're doing our incubator program. I'd be looking at what's going on in France right now, what's going on in Germany right now, and I would go and actually search in their local language, and then I would actually use my translator to be able to translate everything on their web pages, so that I'm actually be able to spot what's going on in China, what's going on in Japan. So if you start thinking like that, the world is basically a massive treasure map where there's little treasures, and they're hidden all over the place. And all you need to do is basically say, right, I'm going to go out today, and my mission is to find a number of companies that have figured things out that I haven't figured out yet in my industry, and just go explore different countries on the web, and realize that the majority of the people who are actually doing good stuff out there aren't even speaking English. If you're only looking at the core group, which are the people in Australia or in England or in America, you're missing the bigger picture, which are all the other people out there that are doing amazing things all over the world. Let me take it one step further, because there's a couple of other things that are really key to this as well. I mean, as you can see here, you've only got 5 people out of 5% of the world's population is in America and Canada. There's only 12%, which is Europe, 8% Latin America. You can see, like, 14% is bigger than any of those is Africa, and then you've got 60% plus, which is all in Asia. And so just by understanding that, it's really important, first of all, to know how to get connected in, to understand what's going on around the world, and then how do you go about actually translating the things that you've got into those languages in the most effective way as well. So I'm going to kind of get onto that in a moment as we get into some of these waves. Okay, one other thing I want to share about this is once you start really looking and saying, well, how do I actually go about tailoring, or how do I go about actually looking at information that I'm interested in? You can pick up information from any site here, or any content that even if you're not translating the whole site, you can pick up any content here, and then you can go straight to Google Translate. So for example, let's try this out. Let's go to Google Translate, which is here. I'm just going to post this here as well. Google Translate is one of the most, if you're going to be global, it is like the most helpful and useful place you could possibly go. The reason for that is that, as you can see here, you can either put in content. Let's go back to let's show original. We're coming back to this site again. Okay, so let's say I decide I want to take some content here. I'll take this one here, Jack Canfield's great little quote here. Then of course I can just take any piece of text, and in Google Translate allows me to take the text. Oh, there it is, translated into Thai. Okay, so I can translate that into English so I can kind of see what I'm seeing. And if I wanted to, I can click on the little listen button.
Very occasionally,
and it talks to me, right? So you can do all of that kind of stuff as well on here. So effectively, you don't even have, if you've got a lot to do, you can just post it all in here and then just get it read to you. Or you can actually put an entire website in here. So, and by the way, for those of you who are finding this interesting because you've never known this before, great. For those of you who think, well, this is basic stuff, don't worry. We're going to get into a lot more detailed things in a moment. But I mean, some of these things actually are kind of helpful for you to know. So what I'm doing right now is I'm just putting, this is the website link here. Drag and drop link. Oops, I put it in the wrong place, didn't I? Okay, so just by putting it here, now as you can see, now what it's done by me posting it in there is it's now giving me the entire website here. So you can do this with any website. You can just post it in here and it just gives you the translation straight away. Obviously, I had the plugin at the top, which allowed me to just do it directly from any page as well. But this basically is all about reading. And as we know, the whole internet is moving from reading to video. In fact, on mobile, more people use mobile now for video than they do for reading. And that's why mobile ads, video ads, are growing so fast at the moment. It's one of the biggest areas, and I'm going to touch on that in a moment as well. Your video and how you create your video is a critical step to be able to actually define who you are and make sure that you're capturing the attention of those around you by having a 2 or 3 minute video of your business or any new product that you create. And you'll notice that with all the things that we do, anytime we do a new product, anytime we launch a new event, we'll do a little video, and we know more people watch that video than go browsing the internet, clicking on different links. That's just the way that we've actually changed our habits today. So as a result of that, this link here is a really important one. This one here is from YouTube, and this one allows you to just get a bit of a sense on YouTube as to how they explain how you can make sure that you're reaching all audiences around the world in the most effective way. I'll give you this link. I'm going to post it on here. But let me just share a couple of the things that are on here if you haven't been using it. Now, if you don't yet have a YouTube channel, you haven't actually set one up, go set one up. I mean, at the end of the day, the core pages you need to have today in order for you to build your identity, obviously there's Facebook, obviously there's LinkedIn, obviously there's Google+, and obviously there's Twitter. And the fifth one is YouTube. And YouTube is going to become the most important. And the reason it's going to become the most important is that they've made a lot of changes to Google+, which has meant that now they are linking all the comments on YouTube to Google+. They're linking all the search terms on Google to Google+, and they're making video more and more a key part of the search. And they will continue to do that as YouTube continues to grow. And it's just growing like crazy at the moment. So if you don't have a simple, easy way for people to be able to experience who you are via YouTube, you're missing that whole opportunity. So here, on this reaching all audiences, you'll notice that there's a number of different things that you can be doing here. So for example, captions. The moment you put captions on your videos, which is actually quite easy to do, it's just a simple caption track which allows people immediately to be able to see those captions. You can see it here. It says this will automatically translate your track into one of 58 languages. So it actually automatically translates it into language. Once you have a caption track, which means you've got captions now in the video, take advantage of the Google Translator Toolkit. Access this by selecting Request Translation and adding new track. So what this now does, it allows anyone who comes and watches your video to read it in their own language, which means that you get to, let's go back to that image for a moment. If you don't do that, you're getting to this 5%. If you do that, you're getting to 100%. You've just multiplied up the number of people you're getting to by 20 times. So to not do that is crazy. but many of us aren't because we're not really thinking outside of what used to be the internet 10, 15 years ago, which is the majority English speaking. So super important. If you actually then go and say, okay, well, I'm just going to turn on captions and have them on my video, great. Right? Also, captions increase discoverability because the captions are also searchable, which means that as a result of that, whereas, you know, obviously if you don't have the captions in there and it's just, there's no way for people to be able to find or search by any keywords. If you've got captions, then all the keyword is actually covered as well. And then internationalization, this is the next step. If you start getting very involved on your video channel, you can launch a local channel, which means that they then start showing up in different countries. And as a result of that, you then, with that, can start building up communities and comments in different languages as well. Okay, that's once you start building and go more international. Now, why is this so important? I mean, maybe you've got a business where you just wanted to have it in one country. The reason it's so important is because if you go international and you're global, you start accessing and connecting people in other parts of the world with the same products you have right now. And to give you an example of that, we've done that with our Wealth Dynamics profiling test. We now do many more Wealth Dynamics tests in other languages than we do in English. And our English has continued to double up every year as well. So it isn't like the English got less, it keeps getting bigger. But the speed with which it's growing in Japanese, in Chinese, in different European languages, in Polish, the couple I just showed you earlier from Argentina, they're going to be taking Wealth Dynamics into Spanish. So what's happening is that by basically just taking this diagram and saying we start here, and now we're just expanding into these different areas without really having to do much more, then we end up with a business which is easily 5-10 times the size and continues to grow that way as well. So come back to the question about what you want this next year. Do you want to have a business which actually already is accessing different countries, where you're actually out there in a much wider audience, or not? Do you want to learn from other countries and choose that as a way for you to have a competitive advantage on those of your competitors in your country who aren't doing those kind of things? And you find as you start opening up your mind to that, you actually find some pretty interesting things in terms of how other countries are doing things. One final point about this, I see this as time travel. Here's an image from our Polish team where I haven't even been to Poland. Every single person in this picture here have experienced my product, and here they are kind of waving at the camera. And of course, here I am, like, well, I'm in Cancun at the moment, but when I'm living in Bali and I'm seeing this happen around the world, it would not have been possible if we hadn't set things up in the first stage in order for us to be able to actually go global. Now, by the way, what did we do differently in order for us to be able to do that with these kind of products? What we did was we made sure that the way that the products got marked and the way we collected information could be changed into different languages. So, for example, when someone takes our test, they're giving answers in a local language to some 20 questions or 25 questions. What happens is the website, which is the local website, then sends off to our central website the answers to those 25 questions as numbers. The central website then puts them through our system to come up with what the answer is, like they're a creator profile or they're a supporter profile. And then having done that, sends it back to the local one, which then which then prints out or sends off the report, which is in the local language. So that allows us to do a number of things. It allows us to actually ensure that the quality of the language and the content is right at the local level. But what it also does is ensure that we're capturing data at the central level. So it isn't like you're just having a partner who's building a database where you don't have any access to it. You're making sure that you've got that control as well at the same time. So you get the idea. This is all about basically whether or not you want to be thinking global. And once you start going down that route, it allows you to open up new avenues, exactly as I am right now. I've got this Millionaire Masterplan book that's coming out in America this year. And one of the reasons that I'm out here in America at the moment is meeting up with all the people that are going to be supporting us for the US launch. Now, here's what's really interesting about this. What's one of the biggest reasons that people in America who already are busy, especially the ones who are most successful, and they're all out there doing their thing, what's the reason that they would be interested in supporting me, for example? Well, because we're doing things in Asia, because we're doing things in other parts of the world, that in itself becomes something which is of value to those who aren't. So don't think about this just from the point of view of, do I want to take my product into a different country because that's going to help me sell more of those products. Think about it from the point of view that if I was to open up in a different country, even just by doing it virtually, like I have with Poland, for example, by having Mikhail and his team out there, by just connecting with the right people and doing that, does that give me an opportunity to get involved in other products or other businesses as a result of now having a footprint within that country as well? You start thinking that way, you're going to find that there's many, many more opportunities from one country to another than there are when you're just focusing on one country on its own. And the cost is nothing. It doesn't cost you anything to set up a new country if you're basically using all these tools that I've been sharing right now. Well, these are all free tools at the moment as well. Okay, so you get the idea. We're about to go on to wave number 1, which is reprice everything. All right, so here we are. I'm just getting on to wave number 1. All right, okay, I haven't been talking too much. Okay, just before we get going, I want to just take a sense check on everyone here. Let's have a quick look and see how we're doing with everyone's attention spans and comments and so on, all right? So, okay, I'll put all the links on here on Facebook, so I'm not expecting, oops, not expecting many, okay, here we go, all right. So there may be some questions on here, but no, it looks like it's just me making my comments at the moment. Okay, that's good. We've got lots of questions on the thing here, so let's have a look at some of this. Okay, I see Paula's just actually posted something. All right, let's see what she said. She has said, couldn't find where to click translate on YouTube. Well, okay, so it's not a translate button on YouTube. It's a translate button on. It's a translate plugin, Google Translate plugin on Chrome, which allows you to go to any website and do a translation. In fact, let me just get it for you. Right, Google Translate plugin. You can see it here. Look, I'm just Google it in Google Translate plugin, and you can see there's one for WordPress, one for Chrome, one for Safari, one for Firefox, one for Internet Explorer, and every single one of them has one. So, like, if I wanted to go to Chrome, I just click on that one, and then it comes up Chrome Web Store, Google Translate. You just click on it, and then straight from there, you just plug it in. Here it is. If you're using Chrome, and straight away you just get the automatic translate, just like you saw me do it up here, right? And you can even do that. I mean, you don't need that for YouTube, obviously. The link that I gave you about how you start putting translate or putting things into. Oh, okay. Here's the thing. If anyone's like where Paula just clicked on here, she's doing it from my page because I shared this this image. So click on the image, and when you click on the image, you'll see all my notes here, right? So all my notes are here, and that includes. Okay, I see your problem. I haven't even posted it yet. That was a bit dumb. There's a Chrome link. This is the YouTube link. All right, that's what you're looking for. This YouTube link will allow you. There you go. There it is. That's not. There we go. Okay. Oh, there it is at the top. All right. So reaching all audiences, YouTube. That will give you the instructions of how you go about putting captions on your videos, and then from that you can they then get translated and they start getting searchable as well. All right, so that's all part and parcel of that at the moment. I think I've got most of the other ones on here. Okay, so so just before I jump on, I'm just going to pause for a moment and take a note on some of the questions or comments that are in here. Okay, real quick, I'm just going to zip through some of them. I've got Narelle here. Here we go. So pleased to be here. Great from New Zealand. Fantastic. Panayota. Hello. Nick Metcalf. How come UK gives a call at 1 o'clock? Yeah, sorry about that. Because I'm in the US and everyone's out in Asia. Okay, we've got Paula. Okay, great. I have Paula here. Nanita is just mentioning some things about images. That's great. You can see the screen. Deanne, finding slides very slow to what Roger's saying. Yes, well, that's because I speak fast. But no, that's probably because the Cancun connection as well. So I'll try and put a bit of delay in between my sharing. Okay, good question here. I'm going to make a note of this one. This one's from Shukla, and I'm going to post it on here so I don't lose it, because I know there's going to be more comments coming as well. What advice you have just for a new person just thinking to get into business? Where do we find venture capital? Also, how risky areas this venture capital would be? Okay, so that's Shukla. All right, I'm going to keep a note of that one. I'm going to come back to that. And then we also have Michael, what page are the links on? Okay, hopefully you've got that link now. I will do this actually. This page here, which is the link, I'm taking this directly, and if you look down on the chat section down below, I'm posting it on the chat section there. In fact, I think I'll also post it here directly to you guys as well, so you can get that too, both ways. That's the Facebook link there, okay? And then I'm sitting on a concept that's drawing consistent traffic without any work, but isn't set up to earn anything. This is from Narelle. How do you find a compatible team? And the translator's goal. Thanks, Roger. What's the name of the translator app? Okay, I'm going to come back to Narelle's. Narelle's is a longer one, so I'm going to just take a bit of that one here. Okay, I'm going to post that in here. That's Narelle. Got your one. Got some comments on the translator's goal. That was Peter. What's the name of the translator app? That's the Chrome plugin. I think you saw that one I just put in. The slide is still on confidence. Is this right? Yeah, okay, let's move on by now. Okay, so that's the translation stuff. And we'll talk more about this great slide shows 100 people. See replay, correct. Okay, yes. So I'm hoping that now the lag has moved on, which will be good. Which would be great. And also Nick Metcalf has put a link in about the 100 people, which is also good. Thank you, Nick. I'm going to post that on here so you guys get a copy of that as well. So I'm posting all that on the main sharing page at the moment. Okay. Wow, lots more comments. I've got Mars Primrose, I've got Raja here. Does a personalized path change if the test is taken again after 5-10 years? That's a good question, Raja. So I'm going to post that one as well. And then a whole bunch more. And I think if I'm going to get caught up if I look at all these. So I'm going to do a note here. Karina from Dubai, Glenn totally engaged. Awesome. Okay. So this is good. All right. So I'm going to move on now. Okay. So let's get right into the content here. This is like really, what you're about to hear from me. I got to tell you, I shared some of what I'm about to share with you, with TLC members here, and because I got up and did a talk, and really I was almost saying the opposite of what people were doing, and without exception, they totally agreed that what I was saying made a lot more sense than what they have been doing, and it really is about just seeing what the trends are and how they have changed. So even what's happening last year no longer works, why that is. So I'm going to get into that now so you can kind of see what you may be doing right now, which is actually a total waste of time or doing it the wrong way. First one here, wave one, why reprice everything? If any of you are doing anything at the moment where you are focusing at trying to market things, you know, marketing on social media or marketing via email marketing or marketing via Google AdWords or Facebook ads or social media, like if any of those different things which are using online ways to get out to people, or even if you're using ads in the newspaper or telemarketing, any way whatsoever, you're probably finding that there's lots of people out there trying to show you better ways to market, but very few are taking any time to focus at whether or not the product that you're marketing is either, number one, exactly what your customer wants right now, or number two, is priced in a way that is what they want right now, especially because all pricing structures are changing right now. So what used to be something people would pay for, they're not paying for anymore. So for a lot of people I know, whether it's someone coming to an event or whether it's someone buying an online product or whether it's someone buying a physical product, suddenly your market starts disappearing and you don't know why. And it really isn't about you going out trying to market more. It's about you changing your mindset about what people are willing to pay for now. Because if they're not going to pay for some things, well, guess what? They're actually going to end up paying for something else. So you can restructure it. So let me give you some examples of that and then show you exactly how we've done it on our side. Okay, first of all, let's go 30 years out. Google's Ray Kurzweil predicts how the world will change. This came out at the end of December, where everything is changing. He's talking about things like 3D printed products that some of you know about, that robots are everywhere. Google has hired Ray Kurzweil, he's the man who set up Singularity University with Peter Diamandis. He's the guy who wrote a book called The Singularity is Near, a great book to read, by the way, if you're looking for a way to see where the world's leading to. Let me just get let me get that from Amazon here. So, The Singularity is Near. Here it is on Amazon, When Humans Transcend Biology. So if you want a good bit of reading, this is Ray's book. And Ray he's an award-winning scientist. He is a person who really brought like translation, audio translation for the blind, and all sorts of different technologies. Like he's got 1,000 patents under his name, and the key thing about his thinking is he really thinks about what is the extrapolation of the key things taking place right now that we really have to be mindful of as we're moving forward. So let me just give you that link here as well. So here's the thing about the way that Ray's been looking at the world and some of the things that he's been sharing. In fact, I'll give you this link here, which shares about what he has been saying. Google hired Ray to come on board and start driving some of the thinking behind Google, and that includes Google's robotics programs. It includes the artificial intelligence programs that they have. It includes the programs they've got to figure out how to stop aging, so effectively people can live forever. Google's got a project that does that now, and it's Kurzweil who's in there working these things out. Look at this one, Larry Page, Google CEO, has also got Kurzweil moonlighting on another of his little pet projects, Solving Death. He's an advisor to the company's ambitious new Calico venture, which aims to find a cure for aging. The solution can't come quickly enough for the 65-year-old who's personally pursuing immortality, taking 150 vitamins a day, the aim of extending his life until technology reaches a point that he can live forever. All right, so okay, so good luck to him. So basically in here, there's a whole series of different things he's talking about, which includes self-driving cars. Those of you who've been to my events know that I've shared about that. And in fact, on the fast forward page, which is here, this page here that I shared earlier, down the bottom, you will find I'm scanning right at the bottom here. There's a video at the very bottom, or close to the very bottom, which is all about self-driving cars and so on, right? It's, don't know where it's gone. Okay, all right, I thought it was down here somewhere. But basically the way that the world is now changing in terms of robotics and everything like that changes. I mean, it's not going to affect you today. It will in the next 5 years, but it will already affect from the point of view that there is a new way of thinking about what people are willing to pay for, what people are willing to spend their time doing compared to what they were willing to do before. We're going to see a shift in how people travel when they're actually able to travel without having to be sitting behind a wheel the whole time. They won't even worry so much when they're in a traffic jam, or the traffic jams won't be the same as they are because they've got time to do whatever it is they want to do. However, let's go look at a couple of things here that Ray's talking about. Switching off fat cells is one of the things he talks about here, that anyone can eat anything because they've already proven in animals that they can remain slim by just turning off the fat cells, eat whatever you want, and never have to worry about a diet again, right? I mean, that's all. So all those diet books that you see by 2020, no more diet books, no need, because basically our bodies can, can metabolize and structure themselves without needing to diet. We've got here click and print designer clothes at home. It goes much further than this. We're going to get into full immersion virtual realities, which is how we experience things, is going to be totally changing the way we see things. Food is going to change. Vertical meat and vegetable farms is the fact that at the moment, a huge amount of the cost in food is the transportation cost and the preservation cost, basically to get it from one place to another. With vertical meat and vegetable farms, it's using technology to actually be growing food fresh in your building or, in your neighborhood. So as a result of that, you're actually getting, all that transport cost disappears. And because it's fresh, all of that preservation cost disappears as well. That's all coming, he's saying by 2030, everyone will be eating that way. But basically where transportation itself, which is a huge drain on the world's resources, and also a big addition to the cost of all of our products, especially with 3D printing and with the way that we're moving forward, is going to really shift everything, as is energy, because we're going to be seeing energy coming down and down and down in price until effectively some people predict it will be free, just like information today is free as well. Right? So these are all things which are coming for the future, but they're impacting and affecting us already today. And the way they affect us today is the way that, as I'm about to show you, it changes what people are willing to buy. First of all, number one, content is increasingly free. You might have had a situation before where you actually had a free e-guide. People used to download it. They don't download it the same way anymore because they can get so much from everywhere else for free. You might have had events at some point. People used to come to the events. But unless you're doing something really compelling and different, they're not going to come anymore because they can just go watch things on video instead and be able to get the same experience from that video if you're just delivering content. Right? So content is increasingly becoming free, all content, And as you can see here, this is an article on South Korea to develop 5G network 1,000 times faster than 4G. So 4G already is pretty quick. This is going 1,000 times faster than that, which means, as you can see here, this will allow users to download full-length films in 1 second. Okay, a full-length film you can just download in 1 second, which means basically everything's streaming, and more importantly, things can now go into 3D experiences, right? So, you know, the internet is going to increasingly become a place that you inhabit and you actually are able to kind of like step into, as opposed to it being something that you read. You're going to be watching a video, or you're going to be kind of like going into a 3D world. But even more so, this is one of the things which really is the big game changer. Products themselves are falling in price, and eventually we'll get to a point where they're almost free as well. This is a 3D printer, which allows you to pretty much print anything. And I started talking about this about 3-4 years, I think it was 4 years ago when we first started Fast Forward, and people didn't even believe it was possible, that you could just kind of print out a shoe or just print out, you know, new clothes. But now that they're really understanding what's possible with this, it's really changing the world. This is something that's been making the news in the last month. 3D printed prosthetics, how a $100 arm is giving hope to Sudan's 50,000 war amputees. So this all started with Project Daniel, which was basically a story of one boy called Daniel that basically, you know, got together with some of the science guys who already were like big on 3D printing and managed to print a hand for just $100, because all you need is really the material for it. And now they're bringing that cost down as well, so that all of the war amputees who don't have limbs can get their limbs back. And this happens because the price of this product of production is just dropping. So on this first one here, this key behind this whole idea that products are falling in price is it means people don't value your products in the same way anymore. Or if they value it, they're not necessarily going to be paying the money for it the way that they did before. So what do you do here? What do you do if you think people aren't buying your product because of the price, not because of the value? The way we would always do it, and this is a technique about breaking up any sales process that you have into 2 parts. The first part is for people to really see the value in what you're doing, to actually say, yes, I see the value, I want to do this. And then the second part is actually saying, and now I see value for money. And let's take 2 different ways in which this can come about. Let's say, for example, you have a product that you're launching, or a product that you have that you'd like people, you rather than just putting something up and saying, here's the price of it, and we don't know if that price works or not, and then finding people aren't clicking in, you're sending an email out to the people that you think may be interested, and you're saying, we're going to be launching this product. We're looking for those customers who are interested in finding out more about this. If you're interested and would like to have a conversation about it, then just simply click here and reply. And without even having to share the price or anything at this point, but basically just, here's the value of what we're going to be delivering. Is this of interest to you? You immediately are able to then assess who actually sees real value in this. And then from that, you can then call them up if it's at a high value product. It's worthwhile to call them and find out if it's going to work for them or not. Or if it's at a lower level, then you can actually send out or test market to different groups at different price points to see which one works. So this is all about test and measuring, but you're most likely to find that every 6 to 12 months, the price of what you can afford to charge something at is going to change, because that's how quickly iPhone costs change, or technology costs change. People expect the price to keep coming down, and so in the same way, they're going to expect your prices to be changing over time as well. So really important to be thinking in that way. Well, here's a second way to do it, which also works really well, is let's say you go out with something that you're wanting to share with people and saying, look, here's the price of this product that we've got. Having a backstop. What a backstop is basically at the end of your email or your message, you're saying, oh, and by the way, this is something that if you go back 5 years, people say never do this, right? Always focus people on one thing. But the problem with focusing people on one thing is you never get in a conversation with them. So if instead of focusing on one thing, you say, you know, here's something which is $37 or $100, whatever it is, and then off the back of that, you're saying, oh, and if you're interested in just getting a free report on it or some details on it, then click here. Then you immediately capture all those people who haven't made a decision based on the price, but they are interested still. And that's really, really helpful to you, because it means that you're not stuck the whole time not knowing if people aren't buying or aren't buying more because of the product or the price. So breaking it up really makes a big difference. Anyway, there's just a couple of different ways that as you're going forward, assessing what that price point is really important. And more importantly, it's actually giving more of an option in terms of how it works forward. So what can you charge more for? What is increasing in the way that people are willing to put money towards something is in the experiences that you give people. So in the past, people were spending all their money on content, all their money on information. They didn't have money for the experiences. But now what's happening is that people are getting so much of that for free that they're actually looking now for the guidance, whether it's through mentoring or whether it's coming to coming to some, like for example, this one here is our resort in Bali. We were pretty surprised, given that this is a 30-day program. We thought, okay, well, we'll give this a go and see if there are people who are interested in coming. We were pretty surprised to find that within 6 months, we're full every single month with people coming in for our 30-day program because they want, first of all, the cost of it is something that makes it affordable, and then they come and actually learn for 30 days exactly how to run their business as a global business from anywhere in the world. And at the moment, it's between 25 to 30% of those who come on the program end up actually relocating to Bali or a place like Thailand, somewhere outside of where they actually first came, wherever they happen to be working beforehand, because they really start seeing how they can go about working from anywhere. It's pretty incredible. And so what we've found is that we can be charging for these different experiences and investing our money and effort into creating these amazing experiences, which is why we're setting up these entrepreneur resorts around the world at the moment. And when we start thinking in that way, this is like, for example, one of the partnerships we created together with Sandra and Bea to have a women's iLab. So it wasn't even about us just going out looking for all the women who wanted to join the iLab. It was partnering up with those who also wanted to create their own experience as well at our resort for a 30-day program. So the moment you start thinking about, well, what's the experience that we can invest more time and effort in, because others are willing to invest more time and money into it as well, you'll be amazed at just how that whole flow starts creating a spectrum all the way through, right? And that basically, that whole idea of doing that. Oh wait, let me just pause for a moment because I'm about to come on to understanding your market and creating a product pathway. So just before I do that, let me take the links on these ones, or else I'll forget it later. Okay, so I got down to the 3G thing. I think I did very close well already, and I think we've got now Project Daniel. Go have a look at Project Daniel here. It's really amazing on what you can do to make a difference today. If there's anything you're thinking, well, is there anything else I could print at the moment? Is there something I could print to help, kids in my own neighborhood? Are there, things that I could, immediately recreate, like, furniture or recreate cups and mugs and things and go and sell them? I've said this in the past. The easiest way to teach kids how to set up a business is get a 3D printer and say, right, if you could make anything, what would you make, and then produce? And kids do this naturally. They think, oh, I'd like to make a bit of jewelry, or I'd like to make, a wristband. And when you can 3D print all these things, you actually can create a business from nothing, and effectively in the same way that the internet allowed us to be able to have a shop front anywhere in the world, what 3D printing allows us to do is have a factory right in our own home, right? That's pretty much what it's all about. So, okay, now I'll put those in here. Let's come back down to how you go about now taking this idea that you can reprice and suddenly all the numbers change. And what we did at the beginning of this year is we set the pricing on all the different things that we're involved in so that we could maximize the results that we got based on the people that were part of our network. So we have, and you can do this with surveys as well, right? I mean, there's some really great surveys out there. Many of you already probably use SurveyMonkey to do this. There's other ways to do it as well. But let's just put that in here. So SurveyMonkey is one of the easiest survey tools, which allows you to send something out to all of your network. If you're not doing at least one kind of a survey, I mean, assessments are even better than surveys. And look at that now. Now I'm totally in Spanish. Okay, that's probably because I'm in Mexico. That would explain it. Okay, but the great thing about the idea of a survey is that you're taking information, you're giving people a chance to share something about themselves, which allows you to get into a deeper level of conversation with them. And that's like super important nowadays. And I'll be going through why that's so important and the structure of building engagement in a moment. But first of all, just by knowing that you've got a certain, that's why it's so Monkey. Okay. By knowing that you've actually got a way to be able to immediately just kind of like set up a questionnaire, you could be asking them a series of things like, which of these different products we've got would be of most interest to you at the moment. And by just going down a route of something like that, it just totally transforms the conversation you're having with someone, where you're not asking them to buy anything at this point, you're just asking them what they're interested in. And then, of course, based on what they're then saying, you can then go back and then say, well, based on what you said, here's what we would suggest. I can tell you one thing. When I was sharing with the team, with the TLC here, that there is a general thought in content marketing, which is over time your list becomes less responsive. If you're emailing things out to your list, then maybe it's going out, you're getting 15% or 20% who are opening, and then it becomes 10%, and it goes down, and you've got to keep on going out looking for more people because people are tired of getting your emails. But if you actually ask them questions and they're answering those questions, and then you're only going back to those people who answer the questions and having a conversation with them, you'll find the opposite happens. The engagement rate doesn't go down, it actually goes up. And so we'll have open rates of over 50% of people that we're sending emails to who will open because they send something to us, we send something back and say, hey, thanks for that, and by the way, and of course people are going to open that because they're interested to see how you're going to respond to them based on what they said. So it's a scalable way for you to have a conversation with people, which takes people to a deeper and deeper level of engagement, which is really what you should be doing, because at the end of the day, we've got way too much overload of things coming our way anyway. All right, so SurveyMonkey is a good way to do it. Running assessments is the other way to do it, and it's the way that we do it, right? We basically set assessments up and create a structure which allows us to do that. So on the assessment side, let me show you exactly what we've done, first of all, with the Millionaire Master Plan. With the Millionaire Master Plan, first of all, when someone reads the book, they take the book, and the book has got case studies throughout the book on how people have moved from every one of the levels of wealth to the next level. So if you're not yet familiar with the 9 levels of wealth within the wealth spectrum, by just coming on board and buying the Millionaire Master Plan, you'll get this whole structure which shows you your genius, which is all based on the Wealth Dynamics Square. What's your path of least resistance for you to actually be able to create your business? And then what's the level that you're actually going to be on as you go up this as well? Infrared to red, red to orange, orange to yellow. I'm not going to go through these right now, by the way, because some of you know this quite well. But let me just tell you that at the moment, you are at a specific level of wealth. And if you're someone like a yellow level, which means that you're self-employed and you're working hard, doing your own thing, and you're basically knowing that, if you left for 6 months, the business wouldn't still be what it is today. It requires you to be there like a player of a guitar player. You've got to keep on playing the guitar, right? It's like you can't just stop or else the music stops. This is about how to get from yellow level to green level, where you're now a performer, you're part of a team, and if you weren't there one day, the music still gets played. You could leave for 6 months and it will still be running. What do you need to do differently on that? There's some very specific products that we have that let you do that, but the only people that should be taking those products are the ones that are already at that level, or the ones that are moving to that level. So this is very much about actually knowing, if we know our market and someone does an assessment and they come out yellow level, we then know what we can offer them, which is the most appropriate thing for them, as opposed to someone who's infrared, which means they're in debt, which can allow them to actually get financially sustainable, personally, get to red level, or someone who's a green level, who's basically working hard in his business but got a good business going, that's now looking to go to blue conductor with multiple businesses and the multi-millions. The steps to that also are very, very specific. So as a result of this, what we have done is we've designed for this year a structure which allows us to be able to just take 10 products, just 10, that's it, really, and basically have a series, effectively a graduation from one to the next, where we're never going to somebody and saying, buy this particular product, which happens to be at the wrong price point for them, or which is not suitable for them. We will always go to someone with a product based on what their spectrum level is or what their profile is. So it really is about knowing the customer in order for us to then offer something which actually makes the most sense to them. And you can do exactly the same by whether you're using assessments or just surveys to make sure that you're going to the people that already have said that this is what they most need in order to be able to deliver the product that's of most value to them. And what you see here is that we have got a free Genius Guide, or our Genius Guides are like our e-guides and so on, which allows people to actually get lots of information and material without having to pay anything at all. If they want to go get the book's coming out at $27, that allows them to get all the basics of it, and we're linking in our new Millionaire Master Plan test that's coming out that's linked to that as well, which shows you we're on the lighthouse. Then we have what's a learning platform that we're creating, which I'll tell you more about in a bit, because this is like a critical way for us to have ongoing information on those who are actually progressing through this, so we can then deliver them as the best value to them. Then we've got things like Wealth Dynamics, which is our profiling system. Then the Million Master Plan Challenge, which is now at $297, which is an experience. It's more than just, you know, doing like a 6-week program. At the end of it, people are actually putting in it's a competition. People are putting in their videos to say, hey, here's what I've improved. Here's what's different about my business, about my life. And then they're actually building a community around that with others to see who did what and how you can learn from those around you as well. And then you can see here, there's a whole series of things from practitioners through to our mentoring and so on, where again, don't ever expect, this is a really important point, don't ever expect that what you get taught in online marketing, which is that people would always start free and then buy more and more and more, don't expect that to be true. Because at the end of the day, you're always going to find that your market is divided into different types of people that want to start in a different form. Just like if you go on an airplane, you know, it isn't like someone goes to economy class and then you sell them up to business class and you sell them to first class. That's not what happens. Some people, they travel economy class their whole life, and that's it. That's what they're going to do. And if someone's going to come to you and they want to travel to first class, they're not going to start in economy class. They're going to start in first. So there is a market segmentation where you're always going to have a group of your customers that are going to want the cheapest possible no matter what. And you're always going to have a group of your customers who are going to want to have the very, very best you have to offer no matter what. Which means if you just doubled the price of what your top product is and double the value of what you're going to deliver, you would still fill it up and you'd end up making a lot more money. So a lot of times when I'm working and mentoring with different people in their business and they're trying to go out there to build their online strategy, I'll just say, no, look at your top end product, look at your top customers, how could you serve them even better? And every time without fail, they all come back and say, wow, my customers were saying, well, it was about time you gave me something more, because I've always wanted to do more with you, but I never had any opportunity to, because you didn't have a product that allowed me to do that. So, and then of course you're going to have the central part, which is like business class, the ones who say, well, I'm not going to go for the cheapest, but I'm also not going to go for the most expensive, right? So it's like the 3 bears and Goldilocks, right? You're always going to have 3, and by having a clarity about that, you're going to have funnels for each one of those 3 that support them, as opposed to 1 for your entire business. So think about your business as basically 3 where you've got meat and a sandwich, right? And if you think about it that way, you always triple the size of your business because you're now catering to the 3 parts of your market that you always have as well. Okay, so that's just all about creating a product pathway and a structure, and this is how we're doing it, right? And this is a structure which allows us to have about $15 million in revenues this year from people who are just doing nothing or kind of using our stuff for free, all the way through to people who basically I'm supporting on a monthly basis with their entire business. And that brings me on to the second one, which is a critical one, because everyone I know who is struggling because they're trying to do things through information marketing, through content marketing. So this one is absolutely critical. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cover the first part of this, and then I'm going to zip through the third one and get to all the questions, right? So I'm about to get onto that. But if you want to kind of ask some more questions, do so as well, because I can see a lot more coming our way as well at the moment. All right. But let me get onto this one, way 2, the end of content marketing. What do I mean by that? What I mean by that is that we are in a crazy situation at the moment where our expectation has transformed in the last couple of years about what we expect for free and about how much we're able to take on board and even to act with, from liking things on Facebook to posting things on Twitter to opening up emails or deleting emails or watching a video. Think about how many touch points you have every day with information compared to 5 years ago. There's no question that every one of us has just got used to having many more touch points of information now. And what that means is, whereas in the past you could correlate the fact that if someone opened an email, there was a percentage who were going to do something with that email or buy something from that email, that correlation is no longer anywhere near the same rate anymore. You can have many people opening and you still get no sales. And I've seen many people fall in that trap where they're told by somebody, oh, you'll get 10% open the email, and from the 10%, you'll get 5% will end up buying, or 10% will end up buying. And they do it, and they don't get the result. So they think, oh, must be my copy. it must be the price of the product. It's none of those things. It's the fact that the market has changed and we have so much distraction around us today that you can no longer measure your success based on some extrapolation of an open rate or a click-through rate. It just doesn't work anymore. And no one who's in the information marketing world is telling you that. So I'm telling you that. And I know it because I'm doing it myself, and I know exactly, and we see all the stats and we see what the results are. But here's the good news. Good news is there's a simple solution. I'm going to give you that solution now so you can actually go and apply this immediately. And it's basically understanding that there's a huge difference between content marketing and engagement marketing. Okay, content marketing is measured based on how much content you're creating, as opposed to engagement marketing, which is how much content your customers are creating. It's the opposite. Content marketing is based on how much you're sharing things. And you might be spending huge amounts of time going out trying to share stuff, blogging, putting things on social media, all this kind of stuff, and then wondering why you're not getting result, as opposed to those companies that are doing it well, where they're not measuring how much they're sharing, they're measuring how much their customers are sharing, which is a totally different thing. And I'm going to give you some examples now of what I mean by this. But first of all, here is Oculus VR, right? So Oculus VR is basically a, this was like the darling of the CES, which is the computer show in January. And basically, it's kind of crazy, but this is like the thing you stick on your head, and it's virtual reality. You can then basically immerse yourself entirely in the internet or on a game where when you look around, everything around you, I mean, you could just imagine yourself actually being in there. So we're immersing. People are immersing themselves more and more and more into things, and they're engaging themselves more as well. And if the engagement's not there, they'll quit it, they'll go on to something else. So all game dynamics that you see, all gamification you hear about, which is like understanding people's behaviors and understanding what people are interested in, and then from there, following that pattern of engagement as opposed to following some pattern of content. You know, if you've got a content plan right now, throw your content plan away and instead replace it with an engagement plan. And I'll share with you how an engagement plan works. Okay, first of all, here's an example. So we launched the Genius test, and let me give you the links to some of this stuff, right? Oculus I just shared, so here it is. See how organized I am here. Got all this stuff already set up. I'm so not organized. Okay, and then we've got the Genius test, which you can go and do for free. Another of our little free things. Genius test is like a Facebook app, and the way it works is if I just go to the Facebook, to my Genius page, here it is, and you can see because it knows it's me, it just goes straight to my page, and here I am. And what's interesting about this is, as someone using this, there's a number of things that I can do here. So, for example, I might decide I want to kind of like link it to my Twitter account, and I can click then on Twitter, and it goes straight through my Twitter account, right? So people can find me doing that. I might go along and actually go and look at a video. So how do I learn my Genius? So here it is, and video's coming up, so I'm just pausing it. And I can see what other people are all saying about the thing as well, right? So there's a community that's actually connected up that's doing all of this. By the way, every time I do something like this, these are not actions, these are interactions. So the difference between content marketing, which is about measuring actions like click-throughs, and interactions, which is where I'm doing something because I'm interested in it, is massive. And if I know that someone has interacted in a particular way, like they've invited their friends in, or they've watched a particular video, then that's great information, which we all track on our online CRM. Everyone should be using CRMs now to track things. We were using a CRM called Salesforce. In fact, we still have that for all of our, for some parts of what we do. It's kind of an expensive one, but it basically allows you to be able to track and link all of your information together. So you have a customer profile of all the actions, and now in our case, all the interactions that people are taking on the internet on any of our sites. And the one we've actually moved to is now Infusionsoft, just because it's much more intuitive, we found, and allows us to be able to set up all of our different funnels and so on. And in the same way that we might have a funnel which is like, okay, here's an email, then we're going to send another email out in 3 days, blah, 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 that kind of stuff. Where it gets really interesting is that by us setting up our Facebook app, which is a Genius test, each one of these links along the way, like if someone actually goes along and takes one of these 10 Genius steps, they invite a friend, they added a network, they improve their profile, we have a list of every single person that's come to this page to improve their profile, and if they've used a Twitter description, LinkedIn summary, and that information is really helpful for us to go back and say to those who haven't improved the profile, hey, this is something you might want to do, or for those who have, to say, hey, thank you so much for doing that, and here's the next step that you might want to take. And so people, as a result of that, are very responsive because they see that we're acknowledging them for having done certain things. And of course, because they did it, they were interested. So we can then share more with them as well. But when they come out, like I came out as a Dynamo Genius, which wasn't a surprise. So as a result, then I'm now sent things which are specifically for being a Dynamo Genius. And that then also makes it far more engaging to me, as opposed to hearing, what a Steel Genius might want to hear, for example. So this kind of goes through and links to each one of these. And of course, because it all links back to Facebook, I can see who else is in my network that's actually taken it. So if I'm look at all the other, let's say I need a Steel Genius right now for my business. So I can go and say, well, who are all the Steel Geniuses that I'm connected with? And here are now all the Steel Geniuses that are taking the test that are Steel. And I can go and kind of like look and see who they are, and I can kind of click on them, see what they're up to. And so that becomes really valuable for me to be able to find the people that I'm looking for within my network to be able to build teams with as well. And as we move forward, we're turning this Genius test into something called Genius U, which is our Genius University. It's where we have different learning tools that we're going to be using, starting with the Millionaire Master Plan Challenge, which is like a mission that people can go on. So you might choose a mission which allows you to get out of debt, right? You might choose a mission which is allowing you to set up your first company. You could do a mission which is getting you from yellow level, where you're working in your company, to green level, where you're working on your company. A mission where you're buying your first property. So these are all things that you're going to be seeing this year on our Genius U platform. And of course, we're going to be able to then ensure that people are getting the material, the things that they're looking for. And of course, we're going to be asking people what they want and would find most exciting. So that all becomes part of this too. So this is all part and parcel of us actually looking at it from the point of view of engagement. How are we engaging people as opposed to just throwing emails or throwing social media at people when they've already got so much? And of course, once you're on a platform like this, then you always end up doing the things which are actually most suitable or most interesting for you to do anyway. And we can cut out the things that aren't interesting and spend more time on the things that are interesting. Like I said again, it's not us measuring ourselves by how much content we're creating, but by how much content our customers are creating. And also, like I said, it's not about how much we're sharing, it's how customers are sharing. And one of the most interesting things about this Genius app is we're now averaging 1,000 to 1,500 new people taking the app every single week on week, without us going out marketing to anyone new. It's all happening as a result of those who have taken the test inviting their friends to take the test as well, and it's just growing exponentially as time goes on. And that becomes a very powerful way for us to be able to create like real true value. So two things I want to share with you, right? And I'll actually use a new section to do this. Let me find like just a page here. Two things that you should be looking for in your business this year that will make all the difference. Instead of just talking about products and sales and all this other stuff, think about this from the point of view, let me get some words here. Think about this from the point of view of something called gold dust. Okay, something called gold dust and something called treasure chest. When you have in your business gold dust and a treasure chest, life gets really, really easy. And we always look for this. Anyone I mentor, I'm always looking for these two things to start with. So let's start with the gold dust, right? This gold dust is about having something that fits 3 criteria within your business. The first criteria that it needs to fit is that you have something in your business which is easily scalable, right? In fact, I'll take it one step further and I'll say automatically scalable, meaning that people just naturally share it. They just naturally share it. So something like my Wealth Dynamics, to me that's gold dust, because when people take it, they then go and share it with other people straight away. Something like eGuide isn't gold dust, because generally if an eGuide, someone actually has the eGuide, it's like, why would they share with somebody else? Unless there was a way that they actually had a survey or had some information they were passing on to somebody else, right? So it can be. But it could be a competition you're running where people go and share that competition with other people. Or it could be a community that actually only works when there's more people in it that people share. But you get the idea, it has to be automatically scalable. Otherwise, you're the one that has to go out there pushing it, as opposed to those who are your customers going out because they're finding it interesting and exciting to share with others anyway. Automatically scalable then leads to the second thing. And the second thing is that you actually got, as well as it being scalable, it can't be costing you money, right? So it's either zero cost or profitable. So for example, like I mentioned, having an assessment that you charge for that people then share with other people, Genius Test is zero cost, right? It's like once it's up, it just keeps on growing without costing us anything. Whereas if we were having to advertise, that's not gold dust because we're having to pay for it, which means you've got to keep on finding more money to be able to grow. But if you've got gold dust, it just grows naturally without having to pay money for it. It can be profitable. Like when we do Wealth Dynamics, it's profitable. We actually make money as we're growing, but we don't have to push it. It actually pushes itself. And then the third, and like something like an iPhone, right? The iPhone is gold dust because they're making money on it. But when someone has it, they go tell their friends, and because it's such an experience, their friends go and buy it as well, which means that the amount of money that Apple needs to spend on advertising is far, far, far less than if they basically had a product that people didn't naturally share with their friends. And then that leads to the third one, which is something that takes none of your time, right? Because if it's taking your time up, then you can't scale easily, and so you're just always chasing the business. But the moment you've got something that's actually scaling without it taking your time up, it just happens naturally. Every day you wake up, new customers show up. So there's a mechanism behind that, which is called gold dust. And every business can have it, and it's just a matter of setting it up that way, and life gets much, much, much easier. In today's market, it's more important than ever to have this. So think about it in terms of your own business. What could you create which would be gold dust and make that difference for you? Treasure chest. Treasure chest is actually something which you have that's unique to yourself, right? So let me just put that in here. This could be your brand. In my case, something like the Wealth Lighthouse, which is the basis of the Millionaire Master Plan. This is something which is unique to you. So as a result of it being unique to you, people need to come to you to work with you on it. Once you know what's unique to you, you don't have to hold on to everything else. You can let it all go. For most people, they're holding on to too much of the wrong stuff, like a good idea. Oh, I've got a good idea here. I can't tell anyone about it. But it's not unique to you. Someone's already doing it. But once you've got something that's unique to you, and everyone can have something that's unique to us, then the second thing which makes the treasure chest is that the more you share, the more you make, right? So basically, this is the idea that as you partner up with other people, they are able to profit from it. Okay, so the more you share, the more you make, because other people then are sharing it out there. You're getting a percentage, they're getting a percentage. So for example, our Wealth Lighthouse, people are out there sharing it, and then as a result of that, we then see more and more value coming our way as well. And then the third one is the more you share, the more it grows. So it just gets bigger and bigger as time goes on. And again, when you actually have a treasure chest, which could be your IP, it could be your product range, but something where every time you're sharing it, Oprah Winfrey, when she had your Oprah Winfrey show, the more that people were out there were kind of like telling other people about it, or the more that partners were involved in it, the bigger and bigger it got. And as a result of that, that becomes your treasure chest. In a way, your customers obviously are your treasure chest if you're looking after them in a particular way, especially if they're people that come back year after year after year. And the days of just selling one thing, once are over. Now the days when we actually need to be looking after people that come our way. Because frankly, finding new customers is a lot more difficult because everyone's got such low attention spans right now as well. Okay, now I've got one more to go. I'm going to go into all questions now. So what I wanted to just pause on for a moment is to give you a bit of a picture of how we are taking all this information about the world and how it's changing, and how we've organized that into Entrepreneurs Institute, which is my business. So, and we've designed it and defined it here, as you can see, that the whole purpose for what we're doing is in igniting your genius. This is all the products that we've got, and as you can see here, the whole goal this year is for us to really make sure that anyone who's an entrepreneur who's looking for the right support and tools, that we can deliver it in a way that's appropriate to each person. And the key focus is who you are, where you are, which all comes from the assessments, where you're going, which comes from all the mentoring and the coaching we do, and how to get there. And what we're doing at the moment is we're building a partnership base. I'm about to share with you something that if these different tools and things that we're talking about, if that sounds like, okay, I want to have a way that I have my treasure chest, I want to have a way that I have gold dust, well, we've kind of structured this so that if any one of you who want to work with us, we give you all of that and design it all for you, right? So it's all just done. Because like once you know the tools and the way to make it happen, it's not rocket science, but without it, life gets really, really quite difficult. So we've got basically these 6 different things that we put down as like what makes us unique. First one is the map of entrepreneurship, which is everything that I do with the master plan, the Genius test, the Wealth Dynamics test, and so on. The second one is this online learning platform that I mentioned that we're launching, Genius U. Suraj is in charge of that. We're driving that forward at the moment, and this year you're going to see that all being rolled out. And the unique part about that is that each person that's working with us, you get your own personalized platform where you effectively have your own mini university. And what I mean by that is that basically within the microsites we have is an example of a microsite. It looks like this. Like here's a microsite. It's like a sample site here, where you basically have your own Entrepreneurs Institute site. You've actually got like details about like being a practitioner, for example. You've got all the same things that we do, all the same funnels that we have, all the how to book things in, building your list, going and taking tests and so on. But of course, you've got your own blog, you've got your own profile, you've got your own details. You can add all your extra products and things into this as well, but it all links straight into the online payment gateway, the web store, all that other stuff. And for any one of you who already work with us, you know that we give up to 70% of everything away. So it's not like you're actually even making more money than I am on any of our products. So this whole thing is about us actually saying, right, this year we're going to have about 1,000 microsites out there where each person's got their own unique site tailored to their own particular customer base and niche, but where we take care of all the back end and all that kind of nitty-gritty stuff that most people fall over on for no good reason, just because the world keeps changing too quickly. So it's about how do we actually make sure that everyone who actually has great content and great value can be at the cutting edge at all times, right? So this is all part and parcel of what we're up to and what we're doing. So this whole concept of basically how we're structuring it, is that we are structuring it not just in terms of our online side, but with our resorts that we're now launching around the world. So like I said, we're going to have the Hawaii one later this year with the launch in America. We've also got high-level mentoring. Some of you are already involved in our mentoring and so on that we do. And then we will have our international partners that we have around the world. As you heard, everything we're doing is around different countries as well. So one thing I want to share, and then I'm going to get into these, I'm going to get to the third trend and all these questions. One thing I want to share is actually coming right back to the very first slide, which was this slide here. So on this slide here, if you go back to this one, which is the global conference one, and I'll just drop this link in the Q&A again. Here we go. Oh my gosh, there's quite a lot. Okay, here we go. That is the link. I just posted it all, so I think you should all have it in there now. All right, there it is. It's in the chat, and it's in the. If you go to this page and you follow down with me, well, first of all, here's all the slides, right? So you got all the slides here, and then you'll see here that what we've done is we've actually structured a kind of a pre-launch pack for the book that's coming out, where this book, when it comes out, is being launched by Rick Wolf, who is the person who published all the Robert Kiyosaki books. So he works for Hachette. Hachette's the second largest publisher in the world, and they've taken on the rights to the Millennium Master Plan. He's got all these big plans for how we're going to launch this in July, August this year. And what we've done is that I started partnering. A lot of the people I'm meeting out here in Cancun, for example, we're partnering with them all in a way that when we actually launch the book, we're going to have a pre-launch pack, which includes not just the book, but like sneak peeks of the book beforehand, over $1,000 of all extra specials in terms of training tools and materials that you're going to be getting from me and our partners before that, plus a ticket to attend any of our Fast Forward events. So if you want to be coming for Australia event, if you want to come for our UK events or the US events that we've got set up, all the dates are in here further down. You can see them all here. Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne, Perth are happening in March. Tokyo, Taipei are happening in June. Las Vegas, Orlando in August, and Manchester, London happening in September, right? So any of those, I mean, if you come to any of those already, the cost to come is like $39 or more. You get all of that, all in this. Why? Because I want everyone who is on this call to get a copy of the book early, so that we actually start building up some pre-orders before the book comes out. So if you'd love to get a copy of that book, I would love for you to have it. And that's very simple. This is going to be up here for like, next 72 hours. So if you decide that's what you want to do, I'd love it if you actually go ahead and book in for our pre-launch pack, and I'll send you a thank you for doing that. Now, by the way, some of you may be looking at that and thinking, okay, well, that's fair and good, but what else we got here? So the second thing, which kind of links into some of the things I've been sharing here, is we are going to be launching our Millionaire Master Plan Challenge. It's the first challenge we're running, and we're packing everything into this challenge. So for $297, basically you get everything which is up here, all of this stuff I mentioned, plus the Millionaire Master Plan Challenge, which I'm going to be leading for 6 weeks. So we're going to have basically a weekly check-in where I'm going to be giving the next step on actually making sure that you're transforming the goals you're setting on your wealth and health. We're bringing both of them together. The habits that allow you to create flow in your wealth are the same as the habits that allow you to create health in your wealth as well. And we're actually going to be bringing a community together that are going to support each other through this challenge. The challenge is going to launch at the beginning of April, right? So you've actually got a bit of a run up towards it. And then we expect to have a lot of people around the world that are going to be on this challenge at the same time. And so at this price, you basically can get the whole pack together. And the affiliate partnership package, that website I just showed you, where you get a personalized website, you get that as part of this as well, right? So we're effectively getting the whole thing set up in a way that you can be a partner of ours. Even if you don't want to sell any of our products, that's fine. But you can, you'll get the early kind of early warning system, all new things that we're doing, and you get the kind of inside track on all as well. And we have Leah and Helen who have set up a affiliate community. It's kind of cool, actually. You may or may not be part of this right now, but let me just, I notice I've stopped posting things here because I've lost track, but I'm going to post more, don't worry. Okay, so here is Entrepreneur Institute. This link here, this is kind of cool. You can see here we've already got 180 people that are part of this group, and these are all the people that are interested in supporting our products and being part of it. We'd love to invite you into that. In fact, I'm going to give you the link so you can join this if you choose to as well. But obviously, if you were to go ahead and take the second one here, the $297 one, great. That allows you to basically get all of this material and information as well. And then we also have 6 Wealth Dynamics tokens, which already are worth over $600 or $582, which you can then go out and sell as well, plus another 4 of the books, right? So this is all part and parcel of the second one. And I won't spend a lot of time on the third one, but some of you might want to do this. This is when you actually get trained up to be a practitioner with us. So we have a full training for the year. It's a much, much, much bigger package, $1,997. Any of you, if you're interested in that, you can click on that and do that one as well. And by the way, if any of this stuff, if you're confused or you're thinking, well, I wonder if this is something I should or want to do or so on, very, very simple. You can just basically put your details down in the chat, and we'll get someone in the team to look after you and connect with you as well. But if one of those things looks like it's interesting to you, go ahead and do it. And we would love to see it at one of the events as well as part of our challenge. Okay, enough of that. I got the detail on that to you. Let me come back to this for a moment, and as I go through the Q&A, let me just run through the third thing that I have here, which is this one here. Let me just before I go through. This is Udemy, by the way. I mean, if you don't know what Udemy, if you've never come to Udemy, this is a perfect example of what I mean by engagement marketing. Udemy was set up by Aaron Barley in here it is. This one looks better on this one. It was set up by Aaron Barley. He's a young 20-something-year-old. He set it up as a way for you to be able to put any course online. And here's how well this is working right now. This is Jack Welch. And Jack Welch, basically, he just used the tools here to put up his program, which is basically like all about leadership and action. He's charging $500 for it. And he's got like, how many people has he got on this thing? He's got, hang on a second. There it is, 821 students. Okay, so if you do the math on that, 800 times 500, that's $400,000. $400,000. So you can spend lots and lots and lots of time going out trying to do emails and trying to fill out something. But by just putting something on here, for example, you can get to that kind of level. You've got people like Eric Ries, Lean Startup. You can take his course for $150. He's got 1,500 students doing that one. So again, do the numbers on that. You're over $200,000 on his program. And there's a whole bunch of other things like that on here. But this is a very good example of what we mean by engagement marketing, is that they're able to then track all the way through what people are up to and how far they've actually even got in actually watching different parts of the course as well. So what we're doing with the Entrepreneurs Institute program with the Genius U platform is very similar, but very focused just on entrepreneurship. Whereas this one, as you can see, does all sorts of stuff like design, arts and photography, health and fitness, all different things like that. So we're getting very focused, and we're also structuring ours based on the levels as well. That's another part of this as well. Okay, so leading on from that, let's go on to the next of our waves. So the next wave here is coming on to the growth of printing your own money. Okay, this one's really, for me, one of the most fascinating, because this was one of the big ones I was saying back 5 years ago, that we are going to be seeing more and more people starting to find ways to exchange value between themselves without needing governments, and frankly, without even needing to pay tax. And you see that a lot happen with contras and so on anyway, where people are swapping, or barter systems where people are swapping products, swapping materials, and there's really no money being exchanged. But once you have virtual currencies, or once you have currencies that are not taxable, private currencies, and you've probably heard already about Bitcoin. And what's happening with Bitcoin now is, first of all, retailers, this just came out 24th of January, technology business, Bitcoin's a virtual currency, how do businesses cope? More and more companies and retailers are now accepting Bitcoin, which means they'll be also accepting other currencies over time. And of course, these are currencies that at the moment aren't being taxed. Now that's likely to change. You're likely to see different governments, and I think some already have started putting in regulation where they're saying that this is a taxable, this is taxable in terms of anything being paid via this currency. But you'll see also like how this is actually turning from a virtual currency into actual real money. This is a Bitcoin token, which is basically money, right? You can actually just kind of like take it out and give it to someone else. And so we're seeing like effectively currencies that are outside of the government starting to be created. And because they're driven by the online environment, governments aren't really sure what to make of them right now. But at the moment, they tend to just kind of let them go. We'll see what happens, because there are some governments, like the Chinese government, has like said they don't want to use Bitcoins, and that's affected Bitcoin and so on. But I'm about to take you to one more step around this, which is how people are now using this in a way for them to be able to actually create currencies within themselves. This I thought was a really funny one that just came out. This was like 15 hours ago, so I just got this one. It was just on the last day. How cryptocurrency or virtual currencies, crowdfunding, and a little internet altruism saved Jamaica's hopes for bobsled gold. So, so basically, the Jamaican bobsled team didn't have the money to get to the Winter Olympics in Russia, and so basically, what happened was there was an article which came out in Reddit. There was a movement which is like, "Hey, let's go raise the money." They used Dogecoins, which basically are a virtual currency, and they actually raised all the money that they needed in order for them to go off to go off to Olympics. And as you can see here, last Sunday, news began trickling out that a two-man bobsled team from the island nation Jamaica had qualified for the Olympic Games. So they've actually gone ahead, and they're actually now out in the Olympics, which is awesome. But it goes to show that like people are taking it to themselves to go out there, raise money, and then use it for good. And what's really interesting about that structure and the way they're designing it is if you take pretty much any situation in which there's something measurable and exchangeable, where you can actually then use that for rewards, or you can use that in a way that actually makes it feel like it's a reward, then that's a currency. So for example, your air miles are currencies, right? I mean, you can, like when you go and use Expedia and you get points, it's currency. At the moment, Amazon is just has just announced, as is eBay, that they're getting it. Amazon now has Amazon Money that is created. eBay has just created an exchange for virtual currencies. They're all getting involved in this at the moment, where they're actually looking for means of exchange. And in a way, you can even say that something like on Facebook, when you're doing things like getting likes, there's a lot of currency. You can't exchange it, but you certainly at the same time are in the habit of actually like feeling good when there's actually more of them. And as a result of that, what's happening is people are seeing that they feel wealthier on Facebook if they happen to have many, many more likes. And what is the end result for Facebook? It's that they have people that stick around for longer. They have people who want to keep showing up every day to get people acknowledging whatever there is they're sharing, or for them to continue to grow their fan pages. And as a result of that, they get more and more customer loyalty. So in exactly the same way we show up to work for money every day, there are companies out there that actually have got great structures and currencies that make people want to show up for that every day as well. And I think that's one of the most powerful ideas behind every one of us being in a position within our business that we can be setting up credit systems or support systems and loyalty systems that allow us to be able to reward those customers out there that keep coming back and doing things with us. So we have a number of different currency systems going within our Entrepreneurs Institute. One is for customers, where there's rewards that happen as people do more with us. One is for our partners, that the more that our partners work with us, the more they end up actually, getting a result as well. And if you're looking at how you design partnerships today, let me give you an example of how we've set up partnerships for our Trust Conference in Talent Dynamics with Michelle Clark. I think this is a great example here, where within, let me just see if I can get a copy of it. within our conference pack for the Trust Conference, which is here. This one is for our Trust Conference in England, happening next year. In the partnership pack, you'll notice something about this. The first one is we've designed 3 levels of partnership, just like 3 levels of customer, like first class, business class, and economy class, for how you might want to partner with us, right? And we talk about that, a sponsorship, promotional sponsor, and we'll basically have the 3 levels. Like here's a platinum sponsor, but you'll notice something else here as well. We're giving people an option of either paying £20,000 or basically filling up 250 ticket sales, right? Or we're doing the same when it comes to a gold sponsor, £10,000 or 100 ticket sales. Effectively, we're creating a currency. We're saying that there's a value to having 100 people sitting in those seats, or there's a value in money. It's exchangeable. It's one or the other. And so someone here is making a choice as to which one of these they actually see as being highest value for them, and whether if they want to pay the money, they can pay it. If they want to go and help us bring people onto that's great too. But people are making a choice around that, and of course, then they're motivated to actually make that happen. So I think the days of just having affiliate partners to help you to sell your products or to bring people along to an event, those days are over, because people are already, they're already inundated, having to work with so many other people. But the moment you start linking it together with the dollar value as well, so on the one hand you've got the dollar, on the other hand you've got something like tickets, it changes it doesn't just change the tenor of what you're doing, it also changes the motivation or the accountability of the partner to say, you know what, I did commit to that many, and I would have to pay the money otherwise, so I am going to make sure I make that happen, as opposed to someone just doing you a favor by mailing something out for you, where they say they might be able to do something, but there's really no accountability to doing it, so you spend your whole time trying to chase all your partners to try and get some results for you, right? So a much, much, much more effective way to do it, but it all comes back down to this, to exactly what we're talking about here, which is that when you understand currencies, and there's a reason that people show up to work because there's something they can do when they have a currency, you can design that currency within your own business as well. And that's exactly what we've been doing here within our Entrepreneurs Institute. So if there are tools from just what I've shared there that you can see could be a real value for you, go ahead and use them. If you kind of think, okay, these sound like good things, but I don't have the bandwidth to make all those things happen myself, come join one of the things we're doing, because we're doing all this stuff already, and we're making it easily accessible and multiplying across everyone that we have who's coming and working with us as well, right? So it's not just about us saying, here's things you should do, it's actually us saying, we'll do them for you, all right? Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to actually kind of like go through some of these questions we've got here, because we've got now the next 15 minutes, which is all Q&A as we go through this. So first of all, what I'm going to do, and I've got all these different links that I've got to put on at some point, but I'm not going to waste your time doing it now. I'm going to post them all straight after we're done here. But let me just post at least this one here. All right, here we go. Okay, so at the moment what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all the questions that we have here, starting with the ones that have been posted earlier, and then from some of the ones that that I mentioned that I have on the Q&A here as well. Okay, so let's come down to these ones first. So first of all, Shukla asked a question. What advice you have just for a new person thinking of getting into business? Okay, the first thing I definitely would say, if you're just getting into something new, is get connected with a community like us. If you want to take us, then we're easy and we're here and convenient. But a community where there's others that already are going through the same things as you. The reason for that is that the #1 thing that achieves success in business is context. Context is being able to compare your success or your lack of success to some standard. And the problem for most of us when we start business is we don't have that context. We have nothing to compare it to. So you might end up, for example, working really hard for a month and only getting a small result and thinking that's terrible. But it could be that within your market, it turns out that working hard for a month and some of the things you've done great, and you're actually on track, and the money starts really coming in the next week. But you wouldn't know that if you don't already have others in the industry you're working with as well. So that's the first thing, is don't try and do it on your own or alone. Get around other people already that can support you because you're part of the community with them, right? And if any of you are out there working on your own, I say that's the first thing you need to change, because it's a lonely life. I mean, seriously, if we're out there trying to figure it out for ourselves, we don't even know where we're going wrong. Okay, where do we find venture capital? Well, here's the thing. If you're just getting started, you shouldn't be thinking about venture capital right now. You should be thinking about how you can get your customers to fund your business. So there's always a way that if you have customers on board or who like your product, that you can get them to be paying you upfront if they're part of, you can say to people that you trust and that trust you, here's my new business, here's what I'm doing, I've got this product I'm going to be launching, I've got something that I'd really love you to support. If you're up for supporting it, I'll give you a special rate for it. I'm looking for 20 people that can support me in this way. That gives me what I need to get started. I'd really appreciate your support. Are you on for it, right? And by just getting people and getting the goodwill behind what you're doing, and for them to say, I'm willing to bet on you on that, that's very much like how the entire crowdfunding market works. So I'm sure many of you already know about Kickstarter, for example, so I'll put it up here just in case any of you haven't seen it. Perfect example where if you go to Kickstarter, you see all these different companies. Indiegogo is another one, and a whole bunch of others that are out there, but these are two biggest ones. Where Kickstarter, you can see all these different companies where they're all basically saying, here's a new product I've got, or here's a music CD I'm trying to create, or here's a book I'm trying to do. And on each one of these, they're saying, here's what I'm doing. This one here, look, I've got this hardcover art book I'm trying to create here. They put a little video together. He wanted to raise $35,000. He's already got $39,000. Still 13 days to go. Like, this is not inconsiderate. This is not small amounts of money that's coming in for these things. And so you can already be accessing something like Kickstarter or something like Indiegogo, and which is more international, although Kickstarter is going international as well. And you'll be able to basically raise money for anything you've got, which is a particular product from customers. You're not giving equity away. You're basically giving people advanced orders of whatever your product happens to be. And as a result of that, you can be raising the money pretty easily. Much, much, much better way to do it than venture capital. There's a whole conversation around venture capital we're not going to get into right now. There are some, well, I'll tell you one thing, one of the best places to go if you want to see what's going on within the angel community is go to AngelList. I'll tell you why this is a really good one. Because if you go to something like AngelList, AngelList has within it a way for you to see all the guys that are out there, whether it's the guys supporting, being supported by Y Combinator, whether it's going for jobs. You can get jobs with startups because they're all looking for people in here as well. Whether it's going for looking at different startups, and you can go and say, well, how do startups put their details together, right? What are they doing? How are they doing it? And you can go into here where you can actually go look for any particular startups in here and look at their details, or you can go and look at syndicates. Syndicates are basically where groups have come together, like someone like Tim Ferriss, for example. You want to invest alongside Tim Ferriss, you can do that, right? You can put some money into what he invests. He's got $2.5 million put in by people putting in $25,000 at a time or less. And so when he then invests, he's using your money alongside his. But then when he cashes out or when he gets a return, you get a return as well. Kevin Rose is doing the same thing. Some of these guys you might have heard of, and there's many others where effectively it's a little bit like you kind of like being alongside Warren Buffett, but now you're doing it within the venture capital community. So there's a way for you to get invested in and see the kind of results that they're getting and how they're getting it. The great thing is that if you're looking for a business that's really looking to grow, everyone, like you can go and have a look at any one of these kind of businesses, and it explains when to go look at that business exactly what they're doing, how they're doing it. So here's Twitter, for example, where it actually shows all about their products, all about the people that all the kind of funding they've had over time. You can kind of see the whole tracking and who their investors are. And so if you're really looking at a business that's going to go into the millions, everyone's pretty transparent about what they're doing and how they're doing it now. And AngelList is one of the best places to get that kind of information. And how risky, okay, I think I've answered that one. I'm setting a concept that's drawing consistent traffic without any work but isn't set up to earn anything. How do I find a compatible team to take a concept from pitch to funding to upgrade when I don't have an income yet? Okay, well, the answer is you get an income. If you've got people coming to your stuff already for free, you could already do a survey for them. You could already go and ask them, okay, I've got a number of things that I'd like to offer for you. Which one of these are you most prepared to pay for? And you find out from that exactly what that is. And then you prove that concept for us. That's what you need to do before you go out and get funding. Or you take that concept, and if you believe that people already would support it, put it onto a crowdfunding site, get the return from that. Raja's one, very simple, personalized path, does it change? It only changes if you're not focused at it. My creator profile will never change because I love it so much. It's what I do. But it's kind of like, even if someone's good at football, if they end up kind of like stop playing and then they're kind of like not really playing anything, then they could argue that they're just as good at basketball as football because they haven't really built the skills up in that area. So I do see people change their profile over time, but that's only because they're not really focusing at any one. And so they kind of like sway this way and sway that way. But really, as soon as you actually get really focused at what you love and you follow that, you get sharper, you get better and better at it. And in the same way, you'll see that if you take the profile again 5 years later, and if you were a star profile and now you're following a star path, you'll see it's even stronger star in 5 years' time. That's just kind of the way it goes, because you're kind of like creating a river or an indent as you go as well. Okay, let's go through a couple more questions here. Okay, here we go. I'm actually on the actual, I'm on the questions thing right now. Here we go. All right, so I've got a whole bunch of questions here, so thank you guys. I've got lots of things on enjoying things. Shukla, Roger, truly enjoy the conference, giving lots of insights. Donna, Roger, thoughts on being global and having clients come to Australia for events. Thoughts on being global and having clients come to Australia for events versus the importance of running events in their area. Oh, okay. So yeah, I wouldn't say so much having, if I've understood that right, thoughts on being global and having clients come to Australia for events. I'm not thinking so much about you know, going looking for a global market for your local events. I'm thinking more that when you've got something that's working locally, it can work just as well in other countries as well. And when you start looking at what other countries are doing, you can start learning an awful lot about what they're doing. So, for example, you know, Australia has got events that take place at the moment, but it's a very saturated market. So people are finding it very tough to be able to kind of like fill their events, for example. There's a new trend that's happened in America, for example, that has only started in the last year. And that trend is where you've actually got mentor groups that have come together and then basically got to a critical mass where people are paying, you know, $10,000, $20,000 for their mentoring, and create a critical mass of people that then end up coming together for events. And they're going to show up for those events because they're actually paying a pretty high sum, but that money allows them to actually pay for some really good speakers. And then those events then end up having their own ticket price where you can come along for $1,000 or something and meet with great, great speakers there. So that's like a reverse of saying we'll do events which will then lead to mentoring. This is where the mentoring then leads to an event. So it's, and you can see exactly why something like that would work, but only anything that's happened because there's so many people that want mentoring nowadays. So that's something that could work in Australia, for example, but you wouldn't find out about that unless you're obviously in my mentoring, which Donna is, or if you actually happen to be already connecting with people in other parts of the world, and so seeing where they're at. America is always about 4 years ahead of Australia. And so, you know, America went through a downturn on the event side before Australia did. They now found new ways of doing things, which Australia could learn from as well. UK is pretty much at the same stage as America as well. Okay, we've got some other people. Sharon saying hi from Perth. Panayota, listening to everything in here. Diane, is this being recorded? Yes, it is. It's all being recorded, as is the key stuff up here. QQ, Roger, for a global business, do you recommend a business based on physical products or a service web-based for scalability? Okay, definitely service and web-based. You have a positive, which is just very easy to scale, but you also have a negative, which is that you basically, if you're content-based, are going to find that over time your contents are going to come down to eventually they're free. I really believe that content all will be free, including education will be free. You know, anyone's going to be able to go through school paying nothing at all if they wanted to, but they'll pay for the experience. And similarly, in terms of the physical products, think of something like Zappos, which has grown great, but it's all on shoes. What really set them apart was the level of service they could provide by being online. So I think really more than just should it be products or should it be service web-based is the question: what's the unique experience that I'm able to deliver to my customers that others aren't delivering, right? So they're going to come back to me even if my products change, which they will over time, right? Which is really important. Alex B, how would you best take advantage of the growing maker movement and desktop manufacturing using podcasting? I wouldn't using podcasting. I would by actually going and getting a 3D printer and actually getting out there and starting to use it. But here's what's really interesting about this, right? I mean, within 3D printing, there's now this whole trend where you can go to something like Thingiverse. So here's Thingiverse. And on Thingiverse, you've actually got on here all of these people that have actually posted all of their. There was a story of the guy who basically posted for his son a hand, a 3D printed hand, because his son didn't have a hand, and basically was able to create an actual functioning prosthetic hand made out of basically plastic pieces. on this thing, and basically now there's all sorts of people now downloading it, and you can see on this one you can actually then take all these different things that other people have already uploaded, and there are things on here that you can just print off and start selling. I mean, seriously, it's like there's some pretty incredible stuff that's on here that you'll find, and you could easily just set up shop and actually just from having a 3D printer already create really cool stuff from around the world that you can have on here. If you end up actually creating things yourself, you can also do that, and then actually end up having those sold, and people can then actually effectively take them on board as well. So actually, I'd get one. I experimented just like in the early days with experimenting on the web for sure. It's not a big. Here's the most important thing: it's not a big enough movement yet that you start doing a podcast or you start doing like a webinar on it. You're not going to attract enough people yet because it's not big enough in terms of the number of creators on it. So it's better to actually be a creator instead of doing that. Okay, someone's got a dog in the background. I thought we had muted everybody here. That's interesting. Okay, all right. Okay, so and then let's just come on to the final bits and pieces here. I may not get to all the questions, unfortunately, but let's see what we can do here. Okay, here we go. This is Aldwin Johns. Okay, so here we go. We're here. We met at London FF4IB. Looking forward to Entrepreneurs Academy in May. This is from Wuntan. Good to know. Now involved in the community of tech startups in the sustainable clean tech scene in London, planning to set up a podcast to share their journey on iTunes and YouTube. That's good. What are your thoughts of using podcasting as a platform to grow an audience? Okay, so that's the second question of podcasting. And definitely, if you're going to do podcasting, do it on iTunes. iTunes is definitely still #1 for podcasting, just like YouTube is #1 for video. One person I know who I'm going to be seeing next week who has a really good podcast, and I did an interview with him once before. We talked about this. Is Joe Polish, and he runs I Love Marketing. He has 200,000 people that listen to his podcast every week, which is pretty impressive. It's many more people than actually follow him on Twitter or Facebook or any of that kind of stuff, because it's what he focuses at. And you can see that every time actually he has a podcast, it's getting liked like 446 times, all this kind of stuff. But this is a really, I mean, you can actually listen to it on this website here. But it's a really good way by actually just using iTunes that people will find your things on there. And remember, podcasts, the reason that they are growing is because they work for mobile. So anything that works for mobile, like video, like audio, that's what's growing right now. So definitely it makes sense for you to do a podcast. I think it's great that you're doing that, and definitely do it on iTunes. By the way, I know I just said iTunes. Obviously, everything you can do on the Google Store for Android also works now as well, because Android is getting much bigger than iTunes now anyway. Is there still a growing trend in using podcasting as medium? Yes, there is. Are there people in Asia, Southeast Asia listening? Yes, there is. Right. So I mean, there's a lot of people using them in Japan, in China, for example. So you can definitely do all of that as well, for sure. Okay. Okay. Energy content, virtually free video. They can watch on video. 5G. Okay. Right. That was Michael Sky just saying some good stuff. Okay, interesting question from Serena. What's the future of education? I think I half mentioned it there. The future of education is people will not pay for content. They will pay for the experience, which means the teachers themselves will have to stop being people just sharing content and will need to be people creating an experience of discovery for students, right? That's what we're going to see, and we're already seeing it. We're just going to see more and more of that as well. But the good news is that we're going to see a lot of the developing world be educated, because they're going to be able to access the same education as others. There's now quite a number of big moves. The big ones are called edX. edX is one of them. If you go to edX, which is basically where MIT, Harvard, Berkeley, these guys all have their courses right now. I mean, you go do a course. I mean, you can do a course on all sorts of stuff here, which are courses which are from these big these big guys here, and you can do these courses for free. It costs you nothing to do them. Right, they're giving them all for free. The other one is Coursera. Coursera also, this is the kind of competing one, and this has got people like Stanford University, the edX, the Harvard University one with MIT and so on, and Berkeley, and then this is the Coursera, which is the Stanford one. Very much the same kind of thing. I mentioned Udemy earlier as well, and you can take all these different programs, like early Renaissance architecture in Italy, from Alberti to Bramante. Right, you can take all of this as well. And there's also one thing that I really recommend, is that there is a entirely new movement happening on coding. This one here, code.org, is where you can learn how to start coding, which is really worth doing because it's really simple. The students are doing this. Look at this. 24 million have learned an hour of code anyone can learn. Watch the video. It's got all these like famous people talking about why coding is so important and how learning coding and understanding it is really important as well. Really worth an hour of your time to do something like this and just getting a sense of how easy and accessible it is to learn how to just kind of like manipulate and code things. Things like our Genius Test and stuff, all of it was all done on coding. So I think that's a key part as well. And then final things, who's making green 3D is being printed on. It's actually being done by the actual 3D printing companies themselves, but there's now growing into more and more and more things. And by the way, in terms of something like 3D printing, if you had invested in something like 3D Systems at the time when I started mentioning these guys, 3D Systems is like one of the main 3D printing companies, okay? So let's their stocks just fell, but they've been going up and up and up and up. So here's DDD, which is 3D Systems, and you can see that while their stock's kind of bouncing at the moment, if you go out like 5 years, this is what their chart looks like. So this is their 5-year chart. Yeah, I mean, like clearly they've done kind of well, and this is I first mentioned it back in 2011. All right, so if you kind of bought back then at like $12. And it's gone up to 90, and it's going down, go back up again for sure, because it's a massive growing market right now as well. So just be kind of aware that when we do talk about some of the things here, the entire market's growing. It's unbelievable to have all this information about other countries, from Shukla, there's so many needs from other parts of the world. Okay, that's great. Steve Walton, one woman has a beard, looks a little like John Abbott. Yes, very good, excellent. Justin, good to have you on. Talking about pricing in the global market, should you price things differently per region? Yes, you should. This is from Justin. Yes, you should. We actually have different pricing for our profile in different countries, just because it does work in different places differently. And of course, the great thing is if you have local partners that will work together with you, and you can give them a percentage of everything you do, they'll be able to work that kind of stuff out. And if you don't, you can still do testing within each market, right? Just split testing, where you're trying different pricing out for different groups until you get what really works for you. You should never just set a price and hope for the best. You should always be looking for a smart way to be able to actually test with your market first, which is like super important. Oh my gosh, there's so many more here. Okay, so Anne-Marie's saying Google now has a survey too. Google has lots and lots of great stuff. Yes, they do. They have a survey tool now as well, which is great. And if you haven't seen the Google Analytics recently, it's really upgraded. They now have real time, which allows you to be able to actually watch people coming through your site as you're going and tracking it as you go as well, which a lot of people don't know about, but it's really worth just having a look at that and seeing that. All right, I know there's other questions in here as well. Okay, someone asked a question, can I get a signed copy of your book, please? Okay, I'll tell you what, everyone who actually puts in one of those books, when I see you at our next events or so on, because I know they're going to be shipped direct from America, but when I see you, of course, I'll sign them for you. No problem at all, and look forward to seeing you at any of the events that we have. Okay, so like I said earlier, the whole key thing that I mentioned, Karina asked, do you take debit card as payment? I think we use credit card as payment right now, but look, if you just book in, and then I'm sure the team can help you on that as well, okay? But basically, I've given you the 3 different options of things you can do. From all the different questions and things you've got, thank you so much. There are many here. There were a couple more on the chat page as well that I see, but I don't think at this moment we're going to have a time to go through all of them. So what I'll say at the moment is I really hope that everything that I've shared has been of great value to everybody. All of the links that I've gone through, I'm going to post now onto that Facebook page as well. The slideshow, as I said, is all on this link here. And it's all basically, obviously, you can see the link also for the slideshow on the SlideShare, right? So it's actually linked on SlideShare as well. So all of them are on here. Do go through it. And like I said, on this page, there are these options where you can get a pre-launch of the book. I'd love you to do that. If you want to come join the master plan, we're going to have a lot of fun on that. So really, a really great value for you to be able to actually come on board and be part of that 6-week program and have your own testimony and stories from that. Or, of course, if you want to be a practitioner, we'd love to have you on board there as well. So do look forward to seeing you at one of our events coming up. the next ones are in Australia, and that's going to be happening in March, and I'm really looking forward to those. It's going to be a big year, so do keep in contact with all the things that we're up to, and please do share your success stories with us as you go as well. All right, thanks so much, everyone, for listening in, and really have a fantastic month and year ahead.